All right. So, do you teach slash help your clients with attachment theory? Yeah, I don't really talk about it with teenagers or younger kids. I very much normalize that they have an impulse to connect with their parents or with others, and so that I would say that is definitely part of it, is like respecting that they do have this biological impulse to connect with their caregivers, but their caregivers are not often, if ever, available, at least with the population I work with. They're not always available for that connection, not because they don't want to, but just because of their own stuff, their own history. I also have new glasses, by the way. Sorry, I'm really distracted. With the adult clients that I work with at nighttime, it definitely comes up more, and they're more introspective, more insightful. It's such a different population because the clients that I work with at nighttime they're adults, more functional. They have they can afford therapy. They're choosing, that's such a big part of it. So they're ready for that kind of stuff, and they're ready to look at more or less how they grew up and attachment and safety and growing up. So with them, yeah, we go into that stuff. I think I'd spend more time on present moment, body, somatic kind of things versus insight, I would say. But as you do the somatic stuff, other things come up from the past around parents and shame and all kinds of stuff. So it definitely comes up, but I wouldn't say that I set out with the intention of teaching about attachment really. And when it comes to attachment, I don't know if I feel like I have a fine understanding of it, but I wouldn't say I have as deep of an understanding as I do when it comes to polyvagal theory. Like that's where I feel like I have a pretty deep understanding of how this stuff works, and working on getting to the next level. But when it comes to attachment, I feel like I have a fairly decent understanding and can speak to it, but I don't feel like I have expertise in that. All right. So your clients are younger, that they're not seeing slash feeling the effects. No, they are. But they don't have the same level of conscious awareness or knowledge. Like the therapy clients at nighttime, the adults, they found me through the podcast or they found me on Instagram, so they're actively seeking out new information. They understand on some level the role of attachment and safety. They understand there's a biological aspect to these things. So it's like I'm not starting from scratch. And when it comes to the teenagers and kids, you're starting from scratch because they're not actively looking for this type of information. They are very much in a place of behavioral adaptations where they're just trying to get through the moment, get through the day. Now, I don't blame them. But with the adults that I'm working with, they are seeking new information. It is like it's flat out just kind of easier, honestly. I mean, it's still challenging, and there's still heavy stuff that we go into, but I mean, the fact that they're willing and able and can pay for it, and what I mean by that is like it shows just this different level of functioning. Like they have some level of healthy relationships in their life. They have the knowledge they're seeking out. They have motivation to change, and so they found me and they identified me as a potential help. And so there's just way more foundation to build from. Whereas the clients that I'm working with, the students I'm working with, they are not seeking help necessarily. Maybe they are, but they might have been told by a parent, like, look, you have to do this, or a principal, or the school district might have said, you got kicked out of this school, and part of you going to this school is now you have to see a therapist or a counselor. And that's part of your expulsion contract. So they don't want help. The kids I've worked with over the years in substance abuse treatment, before the school district, they were mandated to get help. They don't want help. They have found their solution. Their solution is substance use. And it doesn't work very well, and it makes it worse in the long run. And they know that, but that is their solution, and they're not looking for help. And they would not have come to me in therapy had it not been for the juvenile justice system. So it's like the foundation of change for one versus the other is starkly different. And so for me to work with teenagers and say, hey, here's some stuff on attachment, here's some stuff on polyvagal theory, they're like, I don't even want to be here in the first place. Why are you teaching this stuff? And so my goal there is like, really, can I make a connection with you and build some level of safety and rapport? Whereas with the adult clients, it's they're ready for that stuff, and they've actually kind of already gotten it. They're already listening to the podcast. They're already, following people on Instagram and hearing about attachment and whatnot. So for me to teach about that in therapy is they're already ready for it. But it's not just the information they're ready for. Now they're ready to apply it to themselves. So they can hear me talk about polyvagal theory on the podcast. But when we meet in person one-on-one, now it's like, okay, I want to talk about this when it comes to me and how my specific autonomic nervous system, my process of neuroception and whatnot, like how does that fit with me? So it's taking that paradigm of polyvagal theory and applying it to the self and building that narrative and gaining insight and feeling these feelings and whatnot. Like they're just way more ready for it. But I mean, Annabelle, like they totally, of course, my younger clients feel it. Let me amend that. Let me edit that. It's happening. Like the effects of poor attachment, of unhealthy relationships, it affects them. But are they seeing it and understanding it? Not so much. Do they feel it? Unconsciously, I would say so. I think it's happening. Like they're existing in that defensive state, but that doesn't mean they're mindfully feeling it. That's a lot different. So I would say that the attachment or lack of attachment that they went through and are going through currently are still these younger kids I'm working with. It absolutely affects them, but are they ready to see that, hear that, feel that, face that? Not so much. Not so much.